Today, I am going to tell you about the pathogenesis of the type 2 diabetes mellitus. As in the type 1 diabetes mellitus, it involves only the genetic susceptibility and environmental factors, but in the pathogenesis of the type 2 diabetes mellitus, there is a genetic susceptibility, environmental factors, and the pro-inflammatory state. As in the type 1 diabetes mellitus, only the destruction of the beta cells take place, but in the pathogenesis of the type 2 diabetes mellitus, there is a insulin resistance as well as the beta cell dysfunction. Now, I am going to tell you about the etiology. Genetic susceptibility means the 4-degree relatives having the 5-10 folds increased risk of developing the type 2 diabetes. Environmental factors include the obesity, particularly the central or the visceral obesity. I will tell you later why the central and the visceral obesity is more linked with development of the type 2 diabetes mellitus, as well as environmental factors include sedentary lifestyle. What are the metabolic defects includes in the type 2 diabetes mellitus? First, there will be insulin resistance. What's meant of insulin resistance? Decreased response of the peripheral tissues to the insulin means the failure of the target tissues to respond to the insulin normally. What are the peripheral tissues which respond normally to the insulin? It includes the skeletal muscles, adipose tissues, and the liver, which leads to the beta cell dysfunction. When there is insulin resistance and hyperglycemia, it leads to the beta cell dysfunction. How the insulin resistance is linked with the beta cell dysfunction? As in the earlier stages of development of the type 2 diabetes mellitus, when there is level of the glucose increases in the blood, it gives response to the beta cells to secrete the insulin. Because the main stimulus for the secretion of the insulin is the glucose itself, it will go to the beta cells and beta cell will secrete the insulin. Then this insulin will go to the liver, the skeletal muscle, and adipose tissues, but these are unable to respond normally to the insulin because there is insulin resistance. And when there is insulin resistance, no translocation of the GLUT4 receptors, and when there is no translocation of the GLUT4 receptors, there is no entry of the glucose in the cell. As a result, the blood glucose level remains same. When the beta cells make insulin but no entry of the insulins in the cell, the insulin remains in the blood, which leads to the hyperinsulinemia. When the insulin cannot enter into the cell, no entry of the glucose in the cells, because what is the work of insulin? The work of insulin is the translocation of the GLUT4 receptor. When there is no insulin in the cell, there is no translocation of the GLUT4 receptor. As a result, no entry of the glucose in the cells. As a result, glucose levels increases in the blood, result in hyperglycemia. Insulin levels increases in the blood, hyperinsulinemia. As a result, what is the end result of all this condition? Beta cells will make more and more insulin, then hyperinsulinemia, and this hyperglycemia will give the positive feedbacks to the beta cells to make more and more insulin. This was the early stage. And what happened in the later stage? Beta cells exhausted due to the continuous positive feedback and positive secretion of insulin result in the chronic hyperglycemia and long-standing complication of type 2 diabetes mellitus. What are the additional factors which leads to the beta cell dysfunction? Increased free fatty acid lipotoxicity in the blood, chronic hyperglycemia, abnormal incretin effects, GLP and the GIP, glucagon-like peptide, and the glucose insulin-dependent polypeptide, amyloid deposition in the beta cells, and other are the genetic factors. What are the end result of insulin resistance? Failure to inhibit the endogenous glucose production. Why there is the inhibition of the endogenous glucose production? Failure of inhibition of endogenous glucose production. Because when there is no glucose enters into the cell will continuously give the response, we do not have any glucose, so we need glucose. As a result, glucose production increases in the body, increased gluconeogenesis. What is the manifestation of the increased gluconeogenesis? Increased fasting blood sugar levels. The second result of the insulin resistance is failure of glucose uptake and the glycogen synthesis, which result in the postprandial blood glucose levels. The third result, failure to inhibit the lipoprotein lipase. As what happened if lipoprotein lipase inhibition do not take place? Results in increased free fatty acids, and increased free fatty acids are the factors for the insulin resistance. Now I am going to talk about what are the functional defects and the peripheral resistance. decreased tyrosine phosphorylation of the insulin resistant and IRS proteins, decreased level of the GLUT4 receptors. What happened when we do exercise? Exercise increase the translocation of the GLUT4 receptors. Now I am going to talk about how the obesity is related to the insulin resistance. What is the relationship between the obesity and the insulin resistance? Risk of the diabetes mellitus increases as the BMI increases. And the risk of type 2 diabetes mellitus is mainly associated with the central or abdominal or the visceral obesity, not with the gluteal or the peripheral obesity. Why there is a central obesity is more linked with the development of the type 2 diabetes mellitus? Because the central obesity or the central fats are more likely to the lipolytic, which results in increased free fatty acids. Free fatty acid has got the inverse relationship between the insulin resistance. As the free fatty acids levels increases, the insulin insensitivity decreases. As the levels of the free fatty acid decreases, the insulin sensitivity increases. So, it has inverse relationship between the insulin sensitivity. As the level of the free fatty acids increases, it overwhelms the fatty acid oxidation pathway, which result in the DAG accumulation, DAG diacylglycerol. When there is an increased level of the diacylglycerol, result in the decreased insulin signaling pathway, and when there is a decreased insulin signaling pathway, it stimulates the phosphoenol pyruvate carboxykinase, which ultimately increases the gluconeogenesis. What is the role of the phosphoenol pyruvate carboxykinase? Normally, insulin inhibit the gluconeogenesis in the liver by inhibiting the phosphoenol pyruvate carboxykinase. But when there is no insulin, there will no inhibition of the phosphoenol pyruvate carboxykinase, and ultimately the phosphoenol pyruvate carboxykinase will stimulate. Increased free fatty acid also compete glucose for the substrate oxidation, which result in the inhibition of the glycolytic enzyme, which results in the increased glucose levels. How the adipokinase plays an important role in the development of the type 2 diabetes mellitus. Adipokines means adipose cytokines. These are synthesized by the adipose tissues. There are two types of adipose cytokines, which the number one, which increases the blood glucose levels, and the number two, which decreases the blood glucose level. Leptin and adiponectin. How the leptin and adiponectin decreases the blood glucose level? It decreases the blood glucose level by increasing the insulin sensitivity in the peripheral tissues. In the obesity, the leptin and adiponectin levels decreases. How the inflammation plays an important role in the development of the type 2 diabetes mellitus. When there is obesity, there will be inflammation in the body, which the free fatty acids and the increased glucose. These two will result in the release of the pro-inflammatory cytokines, results in insulin resistance and the beta cells dysfunction. How? Due to the release of the interleukin-1 beta. When there is a release of the interleukin-1 beta cytokine, it will mediate the secretion of additional cytokines from the macrophages, islet cells and other cells, which will act on the major site of insulin action and results in insulin resistance.